Pull round, there it is. Happy days, we're just getting straight on with it. Right then guys, welcome to another episode of Hooked. I'm heading out match fishing to the Aire and Calder Canal today. It's the Mirfield Spring League. I'm not really pinning my hopes on actually doing any good in the league. I'm just treating each one as they come, fishing them essentially as an open match. I can't commit to every single match because I've got the bandits to go on. A couple of those clash with this event, so you know I've got to put the club first basically. But yeah, we're probably going to do around about 6 or 7 of these matches, so you know, fingers crossed we might get a touch at some point. So it's predominantly going to be roach and skimmer fishing. There's been a hard frost overnight, -2, so it's proper parky out there. So I've still got the winter gear on, even though we're well into April now. I'm going to target the canal pretty much as I do any other part of the Aire and Calder. So I've got a feeder rod with me to go across and search for a few bream. We'll probably feed a few balls in on a long line to start with, plumb up a shorter line, see if we can catch short, and maybe one down the inside of the tins, just looking for a perch if nothing else is doing. You never know, you sometimes get an odd bonus fish down there. Right, I'm going to get my backside to the draw. Hopefully we'll pull a flyer. I'll see you on the bank. Right, so I've drawn my peg, we're here on the bank and I'm set up ready to go. It is a proper windy one today, blowing a bit of a hoolie. To be honest, I don't fancy fishing the long pole at all. I think control will be really difficult. So all I've done is pulled the 8-metre whip out of the bag and I'm going to fish it like a pole. I've got the elastic in, it's just a midi number 4, I think it's a number 4, the purple one anyway, set fairly taut. So I'm going to fish that at 8 metres. I've got a good depth there, probably about 12 foot. I mean, it is proper deep right off the end of the keep net. We can always come in a little bit if needs be. Bit of a backup line might be just to fish a bit of chop worm down the tins. Interestingly, with this peg, it's shallowing up slightly as I move to my right, so I can't plumb it super accurate. It's deeper to my left and probably 6 inches shallower to the right, so if it pulls through, I'm going to be sort of dragging more line on the bottom, so that'll be interesting to see where we get a few bites, if we get some today. The only other thing I've set up is the 11-foot feeder rod, set up on a simple heli rig, and I'm going to be throwing that sort of just shy of the boat to start with, give myself a little bit of space should I need to go a bit further across, and maybe tuck in under that boat. I don't know if the fish don't like wind or not. I mean, normally they say it's pretty good for bream, but it's bright conditions today, so there's a little bit of colour coming into the canal. It should be alright for a few bites. Right, let's have a little look at the bait tray. So simple affair. I've got a mixture of reds, a few whites and some fluoro or disco maggots in there, some live pinkies, fluoro pinkies, then we've got the usual dead reds and dead pinkies. I've got hemp and I've got a few worms to try on the hook and maybe on the feeder. Ground bait mix for the roach is 50-50, basically Census Black River and Census Black Magic. And all I've added to that is dead reds and dead pinkies and a little bit of hemp. Then the feeder mix is basically Swim Steam Green, F1 Dark and a little bit of Thatcher's. So the float today is a 1.5 gram AS8 float. That's shotted with a 1.25 gram Olivet, a couple of number 9s locking it off there, and then we've got 3 number 9 droppers down to a 6-inch hook length and a size 20 carbon match hook. I've also got a couple of number 8 backshot on the rig just to keep it stable with this wind. At times it is really gusting quite strongly. Finally, I've made a bit of feed up. These are sort of tangerine sized balls. I'm just going to start the peg off with a couple of them and just see how it goes. So I'll pop a couple of those in, then I'll get out on the feeder, see if we can get a few early bites on the tip, and yeah, then we'll just come inside, basically fish on the one line all day. Maybe if we have to, we'll come and try right on the inside on the tins. If the weather does settle down, then maybe we'll get the pole out, but right now it's not looking like long pole's an option. And that's time. So we'll just bob this rig in position, So fishing anything more than about 8 metres today, and anything other than the whip, because it's so windy, it make hanging on to it really difficult. So we'll just get a couple of these ground bait balls, and I'm just basically gonna try and get these in position. I'm gonna pop them a little bit upstream of where the float's sitting, so that we can run down to them if needs be, because the way this wind's blowing. So I'm just going to aim at my pole tip, and hopefully they'll settle roughly in position. A little bit short on that one, but we can always fish a bit shorter. Don't want to go beyond them. Perfect. Right, get on the tip. So I'll just start out. I'll put a live fluoro on and a couple of dead reds, I think. All I'm going to fish today really is maggot. I think with the cold weather it's probably the best option. We'll bob 3 of those on the hook to start with. There we go. A few dead reds in the feeder. I'm not going to try and preload this peg. I'm just going to go out and see if I can grab a fish. Try and get this line sunk as quickly as possible. I'm fishing braid. So I'm fishing braid, but bit of weed on the line there. But I've got a short shock leader on, so I'm actually casting off the knot. It's only about 3 foot of 8-pound Guru Shield shock leader, but it's not a big chuck. We're not throwing a heavy feeder, it's only an ounce. Potentially look like a bite pretty quickly actually. It's going to be tricky spotting these in the wind today, so we're looking for proper decent pulls. I'm trying to get the tip down as low as I can. Just drop my net out of the way a bit. So I'm only going to give these sort of 3-minute chucks to start with. Get a little bit of bait in. Looks like potentially we lost a maggot off the hook there, so I'm not sure whether we had a bite. Felt like it almost went fairly instantly when it went in. Pop a few pinkies in as well. It should hold a few fish. So make it fairly particle dense initially. Sink that line as quickly as I can. And I think the other thing I'm going to do today is use this little bait dropper just to put loose feed down on the whip line. Feeding by catapult is probably going to be out of the question, so getting a bit of hemp and maggot straight down on the deck is probably going to be the best way of getting this bait in, other than putting the ground bait balls in. That's a pull, and we're in on the tip. Only a small fish. May have come off actually. Yeah, but it felt like a roach straight away. So that's good to know. We've got smash maggot. He's gone for the fluoro. It's a bit of a pull. Just a roach by the look of it again though. Come about 2 minutes into the cast. It's not really come to anything else. We'll just lift up and see if it's on, and it's not. So I think this will be final cast on the feeder. It's about 7 loads in. Just going to put a single on this time. Right, well, this feeder seems really slow. Dad's to me left has just had a smallish fish out on it. It's casting a similar line to what I am, but I'm going to get off this, get on the whip, see if we can catch a few and build the inside line. Well, the chop is really making spotting the float, etc. fairly difficult. It's bouncing around all over, so I'm just going to grease it up, give it a little bit of extra buoyancy out there. Never had a bite on the fluoro maggot, so I'm just going to try a single fluoro pinky. So we've certainly had a bite on the pinky and never connected with the fish, but the end of it was marked, so it tells me that they're biting very, very delicately today. I think maybe just popping a bait dropper down every now and again with a little bit of feeding might just help us concentrate the fish exactly where I can fish. Not easy this in this weather. That's a good bite. That was a much better bite. Came a bit further down. Again, I missed it. It was rapid. Nothing's easy to hit in the wind. At least we've got some fish willing to have a dabble. So I'm going to pop the bait dropper out. I'm not going to put masses in this, but just enough. Temps is a few bites. And then put the rest in with hemp. Just try and get a few fish to settle. Bingo, that's on the deck. So I've just looked to my left and Daz is into one on the whip now. Looks a good fish as well. Nice perch by the looks of things. So we're almost an hour in and I'm fishless. But there's no point panicking just yet. Just gotta try and tempt a few into feeding. Well, this is hard work right now. seen a couple of fish top. Not convinced it's worth setting up a light rig to go for them. And try and get these fish on the deck. I think what I'm going to do is just go over depth a little bit. Just going to put about 2 or 3 inches on. See if we can stabilise the presentation a bit. It's by dragging some line on the deck. That don't work. Have to give it a top up. See if we can force some fish in by putting more bait down. Yeah, that's a bite. So just going over depth a little bit. Tiny fish. Oh, and it's off. Well, it wouldn't have made a great deal of difference to proceedings. It was probably about ½ an ounce. It was a good positive bite when it came. So single pinky. That's 2 fish we've lost, so we're still fishless. One on the feeder, one on the whip. Oh, I honestly don't know what's going on. It's really difficult to get a bite right now. Single pinky. I think I'm just going to have to get some bait on this line, go back on the tip. That's on the money. Well, it was 45 minutes on the whip. Absolutely nothing other than the ½ ounce roach that dropped off. A couple of half sucked pinkies. Looked like a rapid drop back as soon as we went in. Just not connecting with fish right now. Right, well, I'm struggling for baits long, so So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come short, throw around about middle, see if we can tempt anything there. Can always go back along later. Right then guys, well that didn't go to plan. We're back in the van. So I've completed the match, but needless to say, for 4 hours and 57 minutes I was fishless and managed to save the blank with one roach 3 minutes from time on the feeder, pretty much on the original line that I was fishing to start with. Now then, what have I done? What have I tried? Obviously it's just been so windy, nobody's been able to fish long pole today at all. Everybody's basically fished short pole, stroke whip and feeder. We've had pretty much every season throughout the course of the day, and just to spoil us, we had a massive hailstorm half an hour from the end, so that's drowned us, given us all frostbite as well, so aren't we lucky. Anyway, yeah, so basically I just swapped between the two lines, 8 meters and the feeder. I tried down the middle on the feeder, I tried short with the bomb over the top of the whip line with the feeder. After 2.5 hours I basically just filled the whip line in. I put another 5 balls on it and thought, you know, let's see if we can get a few fish over it, because I'd had a couple of bites on it and I'm hooked a fish, dropped it. I'd also had a tiny little roach, but this one felt better, and I had a couple of really solid bites. I went about 12 inches over depth, just laid on, just tried to present the rig. That seemed to get me a couple of bites to start with, but then it just wasn't working anymore, and then I ended up shallowing up. I came up about 2 or 3 inches off bottom, tried that, went to about 3 inches over depth, 6 inch over depth, just kept trying it. Fished down by the side of the tins, because I basically had about the same depth there as I did at about 6 meters. Didn't put any bait on that at all, just tried to worm down the edge. Couldn't get a bite down there either, thought I might pick a perch up. So yeah, it's just been an absolute shocker, total grueler for me. As I say, it's a league match, but you know, I'm not really too worried about the league. I am just treating these as opens, and yeah, so there's not too much pressure on me from that point of view. I think it's the best 5 from 9 anyway, so we've still got a chance. You can afford to drop 2 or 3, can't you? Right, if you enjoy your match fishing and you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, tight lines.